Right now, right here where we are, almost to the month of October. Look, in the month of October, you have this massive meeting in with the Brics, only then followed by the election. And things are going to start to get very interesting and be very difficult for people to ignore. And I guess people are they don't believe that gold and silver can continue to go higher. My belief is that gold and silver should be massively higher already, but for the actions of the 6, 7, 8 commercial banks that have done their best to maintain a Western illusion that is breaking. And it's breaking because our allies that have helped us support that illusion are breaking ranks and moving in a different direction. And India is a prime example, as is Saudi Arabia.
The BRICS alliance, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has been actively working on alternative financial systems to lessen reliance on the US dollar. This de-dollarization strategy aims to create a more efficient international payment network, potentially using blockchain or similar digital platforms. Reports indicate that over 159 countries may join this initiative. By stepping away from dollar dominance, BRICS intends to foster fairer trading conditions among member nations. Famous analyst Andy Schectman suggests that October is gearing up to be a crucial month, highlighted by a significant BRICS meeting and various elections. This backdrop raises awareness about the potential for substantial increases in gold and silver prices. Andy says these precious metals are already undervalued, but a handful of banks are working to maintain a weakening narrative. As the geopolitical landscape shifts, many are beginning to realize the opportunities for these assets. Countries like India and Saudi Arabia are making strategic moves behind the scenes to shift their economic strategies without attracting too much attention. Meanwhile, China is playing a smart game, quietly accumulating gold through indirect channels. This approach helps strengthen its position on the global stage while minimizing potential market disruptions. With over 2,100 tons of gold reserves, China has become one of the largest gold holders worldwide. This ongoing accumulation is all part of a broader plan to reduce reliance on the US dollar. Looking ahead, Andy highlights that gold, currently undervalued at around $2,600, and silver, priced at about $31 an ounce, present solid investment opportunities. Notably, India's silver imports are projected to nearly double this year, driven by increasing demand from solar panel and electronics manufacturers. Investors are betting that silver will deliver better returns than gold, making waves in the market. We will present clips from Andy Schectman's interview, but before we do, if you want more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more updates. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
34 years that I've been doing this, Dunnigan, it's been nothing but a head fake. It's the little boy who cries wolf. And one of these days, the wolf cometh. And that's the point. And it just appears as though, in many respects, the wolf is already here. Now, is this the one where it just keeps on running? Is it possible that we see 2,600, 2,700, 2,800, how about 3,000? You take the commercial bank suppression out of the markets and the price of gold and silver will be massively higher. And the worst part about a long-term macro cycle, which we have been in, is that most people aren't capable of processing the fact that this could actually happen here. That recency bias, that normalcy bias will be the worst thing for people to hang on to. And you have to take a step back and look at what the most well-informed traders in the world are doing. And that is the fact that they are selling treasuries, pushing up the yield on the back end of the curve. They are accumulating commodities. They are distancing themselves from the West. They are formulating alliances and bonds, and either you believe it for what it is or you don't. And you know, you talk about the BRICS. Yes, it's a slow-moving process. But I've read just recently that now they're talking about bringing in all of these other groups from Asia, bringing in the Eurasian Economic Union, bringing in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, bringing all these groups into the fold slowly and methodically. But you're beginning to hear more and more and more about bringing all these countries into the fold. Right now, right here where we are, almost to the month of October. Look, in the month of October, you have this massive meeting with the Brics, only then followed by the election. And things are going to start to get very interesting and be very difficult for people to ignore. And I guess people are they don't believe that gold and silver can continue to go higher. My belief is that gold and silver should be massively higher already, but for the actions of the 6, 7, 8 commercial banks that have done their best to maintain a Western illusion that is breaking. And it's breaking because our allies that have helped us support that illusion are breaking ranks and moving in a different direction. And India is a prime example, as is Saudi Arabia. And they're so concerned about the way that we look at this, or the way that the West looks at it, that they're trying to do it in a private manner. The same thing is true about China when they told us that they weren't buying any more gold. Baloney, the import-export numbers show that they've been buying gold. And as we talked about, through their proxy banks, through the commercial banks that are able to buy from the refineries in South Africa and in Switzerland that aren't reporting it to the IMF because it's not coming from the central bank, and all sorts of other avenues on top of being the largest producer of gold in the world and the second largest producer of silver, and then flying all around the world buying up doré bar and concentrate so that it doesn't come off of an exchange. All of these things put together shows you the tremendous effort that these countries are putting into de-dollarizing without stepping on the foot of the king, until they have enough of a mass behind them where the king isn't as relevant as he once was. So yeah, I think we're getting there. And I keep saying this, that it's going to be crazy the few weeks leading up to the election. It just seems that we're already there. And I guess we'll be able to watch it shotgun here real time over the next 8 weeks to see how it unfolds. But I think $2,600 gold is cheap. I think we'll be north of 2,700 or 2,800 by the end of the year, maybe 3,000. Who knows? But silver at $31 an ounce is still the bargain of a lifetime. And, you know, when you see a country like India doing what they're continually importing huge amounts of it, it ought to tell you just how important it is. And everything we've talked about with China going around the world buying unrefined silver so that it isn't noticed should tell you where it ultimately will be. You don't need to see it in front of your face at $50 an ounce to wake up. You should just see not only is it continuing to move higher, it's doing so with its arms tied behind its back. One of these days, it's going to be set free. If these commercial banks are indeed covering the way that it appears in the last Commitment of Traders report without enticing the managed money to sell, then it's a whole new game. And you will see silver go bang, just like that. And it seems like we're almost there. So you pull those commercial banks out, realizing that this is a game they can't keep fighting. Yeah, it's going to be a market that I think will be unlike any other that I've ever been part of in almost 40 years of being in finance.
The annual inflation rate in the United States has increased significantly, rising from 3.2% in 2011 to 8.3% in 2022. This indicates a substantial decline in the purchasing power of the US dollar, meaning that consumers can buy less with each dollar as prices rise. According to data from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the U.S. Consumer Price Index, CPI, was about 258.84 in 2020. Projections suggest it could rise to around 325.6 by 2027, using 1982 to 1984 as a baseline. This projected increase underscores the ongoing rise in living costs. It highlights the diminishing value of the dollar over time, posing challenges for households as they navigate higher prices for everyday goods and services. Many analysts, including Andy, express skepticism about inflation-related government statistics, such as the Consumer Price Index, CPI. There is a widespread belief that these figures are manipulated to create a more favorable impression of economic health. This has led to a deep distrust of official data, with many believing that the actual inflation rate is much higher than reported. On a global scale, countries increasingly recognize that relying on US dollars for wealth storage may no longer be a safe or effective strategy. As economies face various challenges, including potential currency debasement, many nations turn to tangible assets like gold.
If you look at the CPI, it's a rigged metric. It's a rigged metric where the government gets to cherry pick what items go into this basket that they're weighing, and it's completely and totally nonsensical. And all along they're talking about reaching this arbitrary 2% inflation rate, which again I've never quite understood, because why not have it negative 2%, which lower the rate the higher the standard of living. But they're 60% away from reaching their rate of 2%, and they're pivoting and moving the other direction. and reigniting the inflation engine. And if you save in dollars, as Rick Rule says, you're gonna be a victim, period. And so that what these countries have chosen to do is to accumulate assets. It goes back to what Zoltan Pozsar was saying, and he's right. This is a system of who has the commodities will make the rules ultimately. So that is what we're seeing. And you look at a country like Saudi Arabia, who's trying to play both sides of the aisle, at least for now, and not upset the West to the degree that we really probably should be if we knew what their ultimate motivations were. You can see it if you're paying attention. But this is, look, the fact that they got caught importing massive amounts of gold isn't the issue. The bigger issue to me is that there's a lot that they're not getting caught on. And these countries are realizing that holding money in dollars or wealth in dollars is a game that is coming to an end. And you can see that by them lowering the front end of the curve, and the back end, the rates go higher just by a little bit. But that's the rest of the world saying, nah, we choose to hold assets differently than any duration debt instrument by a broken and insolvent country. So I think the same thing should be true for everyone. That it's, you look at the wealthy people and they're not holding dollars, they're holding assets. And that's what we're seeing on a much larger scale here. Look at all the countries that are intending to join. Look at Turkey, look at Poland. These are countries that are massively accumulating assets, and yet they're Western-friendly countries. Look at a country like Turkey, who has applied to Brics, the first NATO country to do so. They've been the largest buyer of gold for the last year, or right up there. So these countries understand the place that we are at. The problem here is that most people in this country don't, and they're going to get run over by this. And I don't know what you and I can do. We've tried our best to sound the alarm. Either you see this for what it is or you don't. And the crazy thing is that I truly believe that the history that will be written about or the story that will be written about in textbooks and history books, we're right there right now. Over the next 2 months, it will determine which path we go down. And I don't think either administration is going to be able to right the ship economically, but can at least mitigate the path that we are heading down with this current administration. And you can see by the maneuvering of all of these countries and how they're trying to get rid of dollars quickly and accumulate assets, and even do so very privately, just how relevant this really is. And the scariest part about it all, on top of everything, including the erosion in our First Amendment rights across the Western world, where you have to think twice about the things you say and how you say it and the way you say it, is that most people just don't have a clue what is coming down the pike at us. And I don't think it's ever been more concerning. And when you see a country like India and a country like Saudi Arabia, Western allies that are doing all they can to distance themselves politely and quietly and privately from the West, it should be a big eye-opening admission. And yet our media will not tell anyone what is happening. They're more concerned about fomenting this nonsense between the two candidates and this divisiveness that we're seeing, instead of uniting us into a common a common strategy. And that's why I do what I do, and I know that's why you do what you do. But I think we are going to get into a period of time here in the next few weeks where it becomes abundantly clear just how important this really is. It goes from hiding what you're doing to outright in your face and doing it. And if the current administration retains office and you see Kamala win, and you get guys like John Paulson, massive, huge hedge fund guys, say, I'm done, I'm pulling up, I'm selling $2.9 billion worth of assets, how fast does that change the narrative, and what does that look like? So these are important times, and I think if, as Rick says, you're not a contrarian, you're damn well bound to be a victim. And it's becoming obvious that is the path we're on.
Market skepticism around the new Brics currency could lead investors to seek gold to safeguard against potential risks. As the dollar weakens, countries might diversify their reserves with gold. A new global monetary system could trigger anxiety, creating a gold rush among investors and nations. With the emergence of this common currency, we are witnessing a significant shift in the de-dollarization trend. How will the new Brics currency affect global financial stability? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Until next time.